Alright, happy Monday. So today I took a small loss and then just called it a day. So let's do a quick rundown of kind of what happened, what my mindset was, and the trade that I took. So on NQ, I have the 4 standard deviation marked out from this manipulation move before we ended up running to the upside, and we have started to reject from there. So on Monday morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, London session, we took out buy side and then displaced to the downside. At the time, there was an SMT there as well, which is no longer the case, but we had this big 1 hour, so I wanted to see, like, because you could think of it in two ways. You could think of this as like your market structure shift, and then possibly the start of a retracement down, or this could have just been sweeping liquidity inside of a 1 hour just to go higher, right? So I kind of wanted to see how this would react. So this is still early in the morning. We ended up selling off a bit further, but I still wasn't really short biased, as the sell-off wasn't really like very clean. I guess there just wasn't really a lot of like fair value gaps or anything. We just kind of sold off, and then in the morning we were consolidating. I was thinking like we might since we're so bullish, we might just have another run higher, but it's Monday with no news, and last week we had last Friday, we had that huge move to the upside. So I basically went into the market knowing that it was probably going to be choppy, but I didn't trade as if I knew that, even though I did know that. So I just took one setup. I was probably just too zoomed in as usual, so I could tell that we were sort of just generating buy side liquidity. So we just have like a bunch of highs, just like a really crappy downtrend, and then we came down, took this low, had a little bit of a move up, and then this was the like silver bullet fair value gap, right? Like the first fair value gap between 10 and 11. But I wasn't bearish, so I wanted to see us inverse this to then go run this this low resistance liquidity. So we started to hold, like consequent encroachment here, bounced up, and I wasn't just gonna long the inverse. I wanted to see if we would hold it. So we held it. 30-second, I just longed in this fair value gap. Especially like I was waiting. I wanted to see a little bit more movement to the upside. Because we had some other little fair value gaps here, but I felt like that was enough of a movement to the upside to then take that fair value gap, thinking that we would run this liquidity. But I was wrong, right? Early in the morning, it just ended up sort of failing and chopping, and then we just generated sell side liquidity here. We ended up having like 3 stacked lows here, and then so we formed like basically equal lows, and then we had that like low resistance liquidity run. I was targeting a bit higher, but yeah, like I don't really see much of a setup in here either. I mean, you could have just longed this inverse, but we had equal lows, so I wouldn't have done that. But it ended up having a decent move, and then just started to generate more buy side liquidity. And then I think the best setup of the day was just a short after lunch, and it wasn't even the best setup in the world in my opinion, but this is the lunch session, and then we started to sell off a bit, and at this point it doesn't look like we want to go higher. It looks like now we're starting to target down here these equal lows, and so we took these equal lows and we started to form, you're looking at it possibly like this might be a little buy side of the curve, right? But we formed this trend line, this low resistance liquidity, and then we took this high and just instantly rejected. And if you zoom in a bit, you had this 30-second that got filled in perfectly to the tick and rejected. You could have shorted in there, or you could have waited. If you zoom in, we had like a little internal model, not the cleanest, but we came up, tapped it, rejected, bounced up, took this high, right, and then rejected. So you have all these inverses over here, as well as like this fair value gap. I'm sure you could have tried to get some sort of entry in here, stop above this high. Again, it's more of like a scalp trade. 20 points, this would have been 25, but you could definitely make some good money off of 25 points. But either way, it was, I think, one of the cleaner setups of the day, just because we had 3 equal lows here. Like, you really want to see this get taken, and then just we generated this low resistance liquidity, and then had our displacement move to the downside. So yeah, that one just looked a little bit more clean in my opinion. And then formed SMT at the lows. We bounced. I was really looking for this fair value gap. I wanted us to retrace back into, as this retracement right here was happening, I was really looking for us to come into this this 1 minute that we formed here, which was in OTE, and then I was going to look for just sort of like a little internal model like that to play off of, but we ended up just holding this 1 minute breaker, and I just couldn't really, I don't really know how to play this, right? Like, I mean, I guess you could just long in here, but we weren't even really taking out lows. I mean, I guess we took this low. I'm just not really, I think maybe that might have been a little bit more of like an advanced thing. We're holding this breaker, and you just kind of expect we're not going to go to OTE. I didn't really think that was going to happen, so but regardless, we ended up holding that. And then later in the day, I guess we had like a little order block here, ended up holding that before having a good expansion move to the upside, taking out some of this low resistance liquidity, coming back into the 1 hour, forming SMT with ES, and then selling off. So ES, I mean, I guess ES had possibly better opportunity. Looking at it from here, it just looks like a relatively somewhat obvious buy model, but at the same time, again, I would have been looking for, this is the 15 minute, I would have been looking for this imbalance maybe, but I guess, again, this is your breaker here, so this is like the unicorn setup, the 15-minute unicorn, and this ended up holding, but you had one tap into this 5 minute, but this is a big 5 minute. I would have have liked to have seen these lows, get taken, internal model to go up higher. Again, I just hate ES anyway. I wouldn't have traded it. But like looking at the 1 minute too, there's just really, in my opinion, like, unless you're trading this right after open, which I guess this was your setup of the day, you just place up 1 minute fair value gap right there, right there, boom, and then you're in, and you target all the way to the external draw. But I don't know, not my type of trade here, so it is what it is. I'm okay with missing out on that. I'm not a fan of ES's price action lately. But yeah, so small loss, it's nothing catastrophic. I wanna try to just stay more disciplined after Friday, taking the like $110 loss. I want to try to pull back a bit. I mean, I probably just should not trade it at all to get today, but I want to pull back a bit and try to stay more disciplined and just, if I'm gonna lose, just make my losing day small. And that was sort of the goal today. Like, once I took my loss, I was looking at this short. I was looking at all sorts of different trades going on in here. I just decided to not trade them because I wanted to keep the losing day small. I didn't want to take a bunch of stupid ass losses, and then now I have an $80 losing day again, and now I'm digging myself a hole. So one loss, kept it small, moved on. So it is what it is. But I really want to see us come into discount or like OTE of this range, and this is just like the most recent price leg, before like really being confident about pushing up to this like as an external draw. So again, like I just need more structure, of course, too, because this, I was trading on like a 1 minute chart. I would really prefer to see something like this on a 1 hour chart, right? Where you're having something like this as your buy model. So there's definitely a lot more that needs to form, but in the short term, again, it depends what would happen like in the overnight. But we have a 1 hour here. I would most likely be bearish looking at this 1 hour, and let's say the overnight we kind of chop around looking for some sort of model in here to try to sell us into discount OTE the range. But way too early for me to try to predict anything, so I'm just going to see what happens, and yeah, that's that. Not much to talk about today. Just took a mediocre trade, took a loss, and then just kind of walked away. So yeah, if I take a trade tomorrow, I will definitely make another video as usual. So hope you guys stayed disciplined today, maybe made some money, maybe just stayed away, and yeah, so next day's a new day, so I will see you tomorrow if I make a video. So peace out.